His little child hand isn't on here. It's just not. For some reason, WWE seemed disturbingly proud of the fact that Olympic powerlifter Mark Henry knocked up an octogenarian and then she miscarried a full-sized human hand. They even referenced it on Raw 1000, you know, a celebration of all the best bits of that f***ing show. Look at that giant f***ing hand. Thankfully, since at 21 years on the job, Mark Henry is one of the longest tenured WWE superstars in the history of the company, and seeing as they only gave him really good stuff to do for about 2 of those years, there's plenty of stuff to fill out this list. Also, what does wig split mean? Does it mean Mark Henry's going to break someone's head open? Like, is the top of the head called a wig, or does he just hate barristers? Anyway, I'm Plumpy from WhatCulture.com, and here are 10 things WWE want you to forget about Mark Henry. Number 10, they ribbed him in public for 20 full minutes. Over the 2 very wide decades that Big Mark's worked for Vince's community of violent impunity, WWE have gone out of their way to sexual mocklet, sexual chocolate. I mean, they took a national powerlifting champion and turned him into a man with an addiction to prostitutes, which is as much of a rib as you can get. But that pales for what they did to him one time after SmackDown went off the air. Mark Henry went out there being told that he was wrestling Sin Cara for a dark main event. Doesn't that sound juicy? Mark's in the ring, Sin Cara's music plays, but he doesn't come out. Then someone else's music plays. Same thing. Then again. Then Hornswoggle's music plays. Then Great Khali's music plays. Then Vince McMahon's music plays. Apparently, the whole thing was a prank to see how long Mr. Henry would actually stay out there before storming to the back. The answer to that question is 20 goddamn minutes. Ribs are a well-known part of the wrestling industry, but very rarely do we see head office ribbing the wrestlers, and even more rarely in a case of extended public humiliation. Number 9, the trouble with the cage. Performance anxiety affects all of us except me because I'm brilliant, and on an episode of SmackDown in 2006, the world's strongest man found himself unable to live up to his own nickname. Big Mark was scheduled to run in on a cage match featuring Rey Mysterio and Batista vs Eminem. Mark was supposed to rip the door off the gimmick's hinge to make him look mega strong and dark, but he couldn't do it, and for something approaching 2 cringeworthy minutes, Henry struggled with the door and the chain wrapped around the lock, with some smirk in the crowd shouting, "Come on, you're the world's strongest man." In editing, WWE managed to cover this little snafu, cutting 2 minutes down to 10 seconds to make Henry look strong again. Number 8, he was injured almost immediately into his career. Considering that WWE didn't really do a whole lot with Mark Henry when he first arrived, it may surprise you to know that he was an absolute monster signing for Vince. Considering that Vinny did not enjoy signing dudes to guaranteed contracts back in the day, the fact that he signed Big Mark to a whopping 10-year, $2.5 million contract is bonkers. See, Henry had just competed in the Summer Olympics, and Vince thought he was going to be great. He wasn't, he was green as baby shit, and almost immediately injured his leg running the ropes. That juicy contract they signed him to, he spent the first entire year of that pretty much on the bench. Number 7, the Hall of Pain was created by Brodus Clay. There can be little doubt in anyone's mind that the Hall of Pain run was Mark Henry's finest work. I mean, maybe the fake retirement speech, but that was a one-off compared to Mark's months-long run as world champion, finally reaching the fearsome heights that WWE hoped he would when they first signed him, which is a shame because the idea originally belonged to a dancing, funny dinosaur man. Brodus Clay was tasked with coming up with ideas for himself and pitched the House of Pain, which he'd induct people into, and hey, that sounds great for Mark, said creative. Now here's your dinosaur costume and your recycled theme music. Off Brodus. Number 6, he was gagged and whipped by PMS. So now we enter the sexy phase of Mark Henry's career. Gosh, there's a lot of things that happened in his sexy phase, isn't there? Like the sex addiction, his preponderance for the Godfather's hose, and others that we will mention. But a striking one was being whipped and gagged by the Pretty Mean Sisters. The duo of Terry Runnels and Jacqueline spent the night with Big Mark in December 1998. Over the course of one Raw, they took a shower together as Mark Henry, National Powerlifting Champion, watched. Then they strapped the National Powerlifting Champion to a table and sprayed whipped cream on the National Powerlifting Champion. Then they started to whip him, and it's all really awkward viewing. Was that the end of Mark Henry's sexcapade? It sure wasn't! Number 5, trying to sexually assault China. God, this segment is just really uncomfortable today. So, it was just before SummerSlam 1998, and the Nation were feuding with DX, leading to the awesome ladder match between The Rock and Triple H. To turn the heat up on the feud, the Nation thought it would be a lull to sexually assault China in the ring, no less. They used a forklift to lock DX in their dressing room, and with China cornered by all 4 Nation members at the time, D'Lo Brown, Owen Hart, Mark Henry, and The Rock, they decided to hold her down on her knees, Jesus Christ, so The Rock could give her what she had coming to her. At the last minute, The Rock decided he would let National Powerlifting Champion Mark Henry do it, and he leans down, does a horrible little rapey gesture with his tongue, then grabs China's face for a kiss, all while JR awkwardly says, "Well, we certainly don't condone this type of behavior." No shit you don't. Number 4, Sammy the Tranny. WWE have long held the belief that people who are different from the normal are funny, hence Eugene, the WLC match, and the Sammy the Tranny angle, furthering the whole Henry and China love affair. Mark Henry became attracted to China after the whole molesting thing, and in January 1999, she teased that maybe the two would have a threesome with her friend Sammy, not Sami Zayn. Stop thinking about that. Turns out this Sammy was also a man with a man's penis, which upset national powerlifting champion Mark Henry, so much so that he had to be physically sickened to a toilet. That would not pass muster today. Number 3, chasing the Nexus. This one's just a bit funny to get over the whole sex stuff. When the Nexus invaded, the entire locker room banded together to stop them, presumably because they were the only guys with a hot storyline in 2010. In a June episode of Raw, the Nexus did their typical run-in with other members of the locker room, including Mark Henry, running out to stop them. The Nexus members tried to escape through the crowd as Mark Henry continued the chase up the ramp, leading to a corridor shot. Unfortunately, Mark Henry got there first, and so despite the fact he was supposed to be chasing the Nexus, he was actually running down the corridor ahead of them, with them passing him as he stuck to the script, and instead of turning around and attacking them, just sort of ran alongside them. It's really funny and weird. Number 2, reporting racism. The wrestling industry has always had a bit of an illicit love affair with racism. In an industry of archetypes and larger-than-life characters you're supposed to immediately relate to, racial stereotypes are prevalent, and the boys will be boys attitude of the locker room can foster inappropriate conduct even more. And Mark Henry, he don't play that shit. It was 2008, and during the WrestleMania 24 after party, an inebriated member of company management came up to the world's strongest man and said, "I'm more of an N-word than you are," and gave him a playful headbutt. Henry reported the individual, who was given a 60-day suspension. And number 1, he had sex with his sister. Yeah, apparently so. The pretty much accepted story of why Mark Henry put up with all the awful sex stuff from WWE during the 90s was that Vince was worried about the return on his 10-year contractual investment, and they were trying to embarrass Henry into quitting. Fair play to Mark, he knew a good deal when he saw it and stuck to his $2.5 million guns, refusing to quit. And the most embarrassing thing he endured? Going through sex addiction therapy backstage, during which he admitted that he had sex with his sister at the age of 8, and when asked when was the last time they had sex, the day before yesterday. That's just... that's awful. Despite injuries and embarrassments, Mark Henry has gone on to become a respected 21-year veteran with WWE, and that is damn impressive. Seriously, give that man a big hand. And that's our list. Did we miss any out? Tell us about it in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter here. I'm Plumpy from WhatCulture.com, and I'll see you soon.